University coming up on Saturday, our first home game for the women in well over a month. It's been 40 days to my count since the women played Arkansas Baptist here, and glad to be home with a conference win in our pocket and looking to add to it. A winning streak starts with the first, and we did get it against Alabama State. I thought a must-win game. I know Nate Kilbert talks about winning the regular season title. I'm just trying to get to Birmingham, and we can start there. And I know he's kind of loftier expectations. I just want to get to the tournament, and that was a big step that we took, beating Alabama State to get there. Glad you can join us here on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL and WPRL.org, as well as Facebook Live. Charles Edmond, our producer Cedric Tillman, and Lisa Powell, pinch hitting for head coach Nate Kilbert here on this Wednesday. Coach Powell, we appreciate you coming on.
Glad to be here.
It is so good to get a win. It's been a long time, 40 days here on this floor. We played Arkansas Baptist. It's the last time we won a game. We played Ole Miss and DePaul, and we've been all over the place. Good to get a win in conference, and now we can turn our attention to continuing the streak at home. How did it feel just to come off that Alabama trip? You know, we let the kind of A&M game get away. We'll break that down, but I thought it was a must-win in Montgomery, and we got it.
Yes, it surely was. The team came out. I think we were a lot more focused for this Alabama State game. We played as a unit, as a good team. Defensive effort was great, and that was the keys to our victory.
Yeah, when you look at it, this team, and look, scores talk a lot about what's going on, but if you go back to the DePaul game, this was before conference. If you go to the Ole Miss game, there were some glimpses of some good things. In the Jackson State game, we slowed it down. They had a big run. So even before Jackson, Ole Miss, DePaul, I started to see some things come around. So even prior to this Alabama State game, you saw bits and pieces of good things from this team, maybe to start to turn the corner. Did you feel like the latter part of non-conference, especially after the Christmas break, that you saw things kind of turn around a little bit?
Yes, they started turning around a little bit. But the thing that we're most focused on is our kids making layups, hitting the mid-range. We're not consistent with that, missing free throws. If you look at the stats, that's the reason why we lost a lot of our games. It was easy shots that were missed by multiple players and our free throws.
You played ball here. There wasn't many games in which Lisa Powell, Lady Braves team, missed a ton of free throws and layups, so you're laughing about it. What goes through your mind sitting on the bench, knowing that some of these games we let get away, the Louisiana Tech game and some others that were close for a time, if we just make shots, make free throws, make more of our layups, these games could be closer. What are you thinking as you're sitting on the bench watching this stuff? Because you all go over this stuff every day and sometimes twice a day.
Well, the things that come into my mind is focus and effort. You got to have that intensity. You can't just turn that switch on and off. It has to be there at the beginning of the game. Like you said, we had spurts, but those spurts came in the second quarter. It didn't start in the first quarter. And see, our problem is we're going to have to start out the game ready to play, get focused right there. And we're having a lot of problems with getting focused. But, like I say, they come around that second, that third quarter, we've won. Look at the stat, we've won those quarters. But, as you play, second and third quarter, you get all that effort. Fourth quarter, now you don't have anything in that tank anymore. So you really burn yourself out not being focused at the beginning of the game.
And so let's start with the first game there with Alabama A&M. Coach Kilbert had to burn a timeout early in that game, and early in the fourth quarter had to burn another timeout, just coming out of quarters focus. So let's talk about it, because we were down 19-8 at the end of the first quarter and 34-23 at halftime. So minus 11 in the first quarter, and we were minus 11 at halftime. So the slow start was the difference in that Alabama A&M game. Even though we came back, we were down by 17 to tie it up. Have you been able to put your finger or figure out why is it that we're getting off to slow starts?
You know what, Charles? I'm trying to figure that out. I talk with the players a whole lot, try to let them know, how you do it as a team, not as an individual. We're going to have a team effort. And right now, we see good plays from certain players. We need good play from our top four players, and we all know who they are: White, Brown, Wright, and Cheatham on the offense and the defensive side of the board. So I think once we get them going as a whole, then our team will come together, and we'll be play as good as a unit.
So let's start with the Alabama A&M game, Coach. When you look at that team with Turner, Simmons, Burgeon, Wilson, and Cody, what was the scout on that team? I mean, Coach Richards' ball club, if you go back to the COVID year, they only had 7 players. They played most of that year with 7 players. Coach Freddie, who was the head coach at Grambling, was let go after last year. He's the lead assistant there at Alabama A&M. So she's bolstered her coaching staff, a lot of experience on that staff, and a deeper team than what we've seen in the past. So what was the scout going into Huntsville, and what was the key to trying to come out of there with a win?
Well, the scout report was they had shooters, and that's what they came in that game doing. They shot the ball real well. Number 4 came out. She shot it well, and we weren't able to recover on the defensive side. Our kids weren't playing defense like we want them to. Like I said, they got together again the second quarter. But like I said, we have to start coming out at the beginning of the game. And they just shot the ball well. They shared the ball, passed the ball real well, and they got the ball to their scores. So I think that was the main reason, we dug ourselves in that hole.
And we dug ourselves out of the hole. We outscored them 20-13 in the third quarter. What caused the light bulb to go off in that third quarter? What does it start with this Lady Braves team? Because we're not pressing quite as much. We're thin on numbers. We had a deeper team. We could do that. But what kind of turned things around in that third quarter? We're able to dig ourselves out of that 17-point hole and tie the game up.
Well, we started doing what they did. We're doing. We started making our shots. We started making those open baskets, making those easy shots, and we started going to the board also. If you see, Cheatham was going to the board, getting a lot of rebounds, and that's what we need from her. But we also need for her to score. And so we picked up our intensity on defense and offense. We have to play both sides of the court. Sometimes we get, a little laid back and we won't play defense as well as we play offense. But we're going to have to start putting just as much effort on our defensive side as we do our offensive side.
Yeah, defensively, I mean, with this team defensively, difference in terms of just the different philosophy. Because, again, I think we're not pressing quite as much as we had in the past, where we can just turn teams over. There are times in which we have, but not nearly as much press it up and down the floor as we once were.
Well, you remember you said our bench was short. So, those same players that we depend on to press are our offensive players, too. Those are players that we'll depend on to score. So, you just remember now, when we go press, they're not going to have the legs to score. So we kind of try to balance that out, and press when we need to, and get back when we got that lead, or we right there in there with the other team.
Well, we tied the game up at 43 after being down by 17. We were down 47-43 at the end of the third quarter. So talk about that fourth quarter. They outscored us by 5 and they won by 9. Do you think we just ran out of gas? That the typical you make a comeback, you're down 17, and you spend so much energy to make that comeback, you tie it up, but then kind of run out of gas there as you try to get over that next hurdle?
Yeah, we ran out of gas, started missing our layups, started missing our mid-range shots, and we didn't do well on free throws. Free throws and layups have been hurting us this whole season, and especially during conference time when we'll try to fight and get back into the game.
Yeah, we missed 9 free throws against Alabama, and we were +6 in free throw attempts, so we were able to get to the rack, but we just couldn't finish on the free throw front. And we out-rebounded Alabama A&M 36-28. How impressed were you, and how were we able to battle on the boards? 24 defensive boards in the game.
I was really impressed with that. I'm always talking to Cheatham. She's one of our leading rebounds, Cheatham and Brown. So I'm always talking to them about, hitting the boards hard and trying to get a couple of those guards who can rebound in there too. So I think if we get them to mix in there and, protect that defensive board, I think we'll be all right.
Another solid effort from Destiny Brown too. I mean, 20 points, almost a double-double, 20 points and 9 rebounds. I got a chance to talk with her a little bit and just try to get her going. And she's now, a string of pretty good games here. Talk about the difference in what you're seeing in Destiny Brown.
Well, you remember Destiny Brown had an ankle injury, so that kind of slowed her down. But she showed up for that Alabama A&M game, and especially that Alabama State game. She did get a double-double, and we need her to be consistent. And we get her to be consistent, and 2 or 3 more other players to play on the same front realm. It's her. I think we'll be in the thick of things, and we will be in Alabama.
What impressed you the most about this Alabama A&M game, considering what happened a few nights earlier in Jackson?
The effort to come back. Like you said, we were down 17. We didn't hang our heads down during that game. The girls fought back. They fought back and they did real well. But like I said, again, those missed layups and those free throws have been hurting us all season. So once we focus on that, get them to focus on that, get their intensity up on finishing around the basket and making those free throws, I think we'll be a good team.
One other number, Coach, 23 turnovers led to 32 points for Alabama A&M. What's the key to honing in and cutting down on the turnovers?
Just our guards taking care of the ball. Those were unforced turnovers. They weren't, defense didn't make us turn those balls. And a lot of those turnovers are in the open court. So, open court, of course, they're going to lead to scoring. So if we get our guards to take care of the ball and our players to meet the ball, I think we could cut down on those turnovers.
So you were proud with the effort, and then you made the trip to Montgomery to take on Alabama State. And I thought, Coach, the Alabama State game was the game that we had to get. I've been circling that game for a while. We knew Jackson was going to be tough. We knew Alabama A&M was going to be tough. But Alabama State, a team that struggled in non-conference, I thought if we carried it over, that we would win that game. And it was a tough game, a physical game. So talk about Alabama State. What was the scout there? And I look at Coach Free's team a little bit different. I'm used to seeing the tall trees.
Right.
They've got some hype, but not nearly as much if you go back to the Shamika Jacksons and the Crystal Kitts of the world. What was different about this Alabama State team?
Well, what was different about that Alabama State game is they didn't have the post player that were as aggressive and as physical as they normally do. So they gave Destiny Brown a lot of mobility, and she was able to play her game. I think Destiny wound up like, 22, 23 points. And so they allowed her to play her game. And in their guard play, it's not – I've seen some great teams from Alabama State, and it's not where it used to be. So we were able to, settle down, get our game plan going, and we executed that real well. We kept them off the boards, and we made a lot of shots on our offensive end.
I thought Alabama State, when you look at their guard play, was solid, and I thought our defense was good. And a low-scoring game, you could tell right off the bat, it was 9-8 Alabama State at the end of the first quarter. It was 21-15 at halftime. So I felt like the first team to 40 would win the game. As it turned out, the first team to 45, we scored 49. Yeah. Were you even offensively, we only scored 49 points. What made the defense so good against Alabama State?
Well, you know what? We got in that zone, and we got 5 out there who played that zone real well in the third quarter. And so we were able to stop their offense, and they weren't scoring on the outside. So they weren't able to get the ball in it. Inside, and they were missing a lot of shots. They didn't have anybody who could normally pull in and buckle it like they normally do for Alabama State, and so we were able to execute off that and play good defense.
Yeah, we held them to 24% shooting, and so what was the one or two big things defensively? Just them missing shots. How were we able to get in our stance and guard? How impressed were you with that?
Well, I was impressed with that 2-3 zone. I talked to Coach Kilbert about that. That was good. We had that solid 5 who could play that, and we were just experimenting on those 5, and they went in there and got the job done, and they turned the defense into some offenses. You saw we got a lot of shots on the transition offense, so that was a plus for us.
You worked on the 2-3 zone the night before the Alabama State game. Is that something you've been kind of working on throughout, or is that just something you all just put in for Alabama State?
No, that's something we've been working on at the beginning of the season. I think, we decided to use it a lot more since Alabama State didn't have a true shooter. They normally have somebody who could knock that open shot down. And as the game progressed, we saw that they didn't have a shooter that could knock it down. So we decided to go in the zone defense.
What's the key to making the 2-3 zone work?
Playing with intensity. Our girls moving, getting down moving, and when the opponents shoot the ball, get to the boards. We have to get to the boards. Me personally, I would like to see us hit the offensive board a little bit more. Get a lot of our points off the offensive boards. But they did well, and hopefully they'll progress from their point.
Well, you're speaking of the boards, 49 to 43 on the boards. We have 37 defensive rebounds. So talk about your team's ability to do that. Tough non-conference in doing that. But so far through the first 3 games in conference, the improvement in hitting the glass.
And, that's what we focus on. Them going to the boards. Our 2 best rebounders, and that's Cheatham and Brown. We tell Wright that she has to get in there and hit on the boards, and I think they're starting to listen and see what we need to do as a team to be successful and win.
Lady Braves get it done, 49 to 42. You look at the final numbers, Coach Powell. Destiny Brown, 21 and 16. Is that what Destiny Brown can do when she's focused, when she's locked in? Is that what we can expect from Destiny Brown night in and night out?
Yes, when she's healthy, I think she will be consistent with the play of other players, White, Wright, and hopefully we could get Cheatham. Cheatham, she's doing her job on the boards, but hopefully we could get her involved in the offense a little bit more. Her to finish those layups and those little chippy, those mid-range shots that she take. And I think once she get involved in the offense, I think we'll be a much better team to defend.
Well, speaking of defending, Zaniyah White seems to have found her groove and her stroke. She's getting to any spot on the floor she wants, the elbows, baseline. She's getting her shot from anywhere on the floor. She looks confident, a confident stroke. What we talked about it. Now you talked with Zaniyah White about it. I mean, she was in the portal. She came back. You all wanted her back, and man, she has made a difference. What's been the biggest difference in her game?
Consistency. She's been consistent. This is the first year that she's been so consistent on the offensive end and the defensive end. She's averaging 4 to 5 rebounds a game, and that's what she needs to do as a guard. And I think she will average about 12 points a game. So she's been a lot consistent in the conference play.
So you've got Destiny Brown, you've got Zaniyah White. Those two have done a good job in scoring. You talked about Cheatham, but now Tajane Wright. That's the one. That's the one that I'm thinking about. We know what Tajane Wright could do. As a matter of fact, against Alabama A&M, she had a situation where she stepped into a 3, and I thought that would get her going against Alabama A&M. But what do you see in Tajane Wright and trying to get her going? Because we know how she can knock down threes and really make the defense work a little bit.
I think Tajane is kind of struggling with her confidence. She's not as confident in that shot as she was last season. But I think it's going to eventually get there because she's going to be the difference maker. She's going to be the player that separates us from the rest of the pack. Right now we have 6 teams in the conference that's only won 1 game. And we're going to have to separate ourselves from those teams in order to make it to Birmingham. And I think she's going to be that key player that we need to make it to Birmingham. Once she gets her confidence back and start making those threes like she did last year, we'll be a much better team.
Well, you're a former player. What when a player is losing their confidence, what does it take to get it back? What can you tell them to get it back?
Well, you could tell them that you have confidence in them, but they have to come in the gym and put in the work. And she's that type of player. She comes in gym and she does what it takes. She puts in the work, and hopefully she'll overcome that slump that she's in.
I was just so excited for this team in Montgomery. That was a much-needed win. That was a must-win. And again, Coach Kilbert talked about in terms of winning the regular season championship, and that's great. And as a coach, that's the lofty goals that you have.
Right.
But we haven't made the tournament in some time, and I'm like, this is a win. I mean, it doesn't mean we're going to get there, but a winning streak starts with the first one, and we got the first one. What was the locker room like the first time in 40 days that we won a game? The last time we won a game was here against Arkansas Baptist. What was the mood in the locker room?
The mood in the locker room, it was unity. a teamwork. You know, they saw a team effort. They saw what a team could do when you work together on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. You know, you come out with the outcome that you want. And I think, you know, they see what they need to do as individual and as a team to get us to Birmingham. But, you know, we got to take this one game at a time because, like I say, everybody's in there, right in there, the thick of things. So, you know, one game could separate you from going to either being at home or going to Alabama, Birmingham.
Yeah. And you talked about it. 6 teams have what? One
win. Yes, we have six teams in the conference with 1 win.
Yeah.
So
if we can win 2 at home, we can definitely elevate. Mm-hmm. And it begins, Coach, with Texas Southern. Coach Vernette Skeet in her second season as head coach of Texas Southern. Of course, she played her ball right here. They call her OJ because she's from Florida. OJ, of course, Orange Juice, OJ. And I tell you what, Coach, I don't know what to expect on the women's side. I mean, we've seen some huge upsets already in the first part of this season. You have Texas Southern knocking off UAPB at home, but then you turn around and you lose the Valley at home. I mean, so that tells you that things are probably going to be wide open. They're 2-2 in conference. They beat Grambling 72-67. They beat UAPB. And so when you look at this team, what do you expect from this team with Holmes? You got Lawson, you got Morris, you got Galban and Belton. Some pretty good scoring from Vernette Skeet's ball club. They can put the ball in the bucket.
Right. I look at it as being like this. You know, every team has to come ready to play day in and day out. Like you said, I was looking at the score. You know, they went and had a shootout with Pine Bluff and then went and lost to Valley. So everybody has to be prepared to play.
Yeah, everybody has to be prepared to play, definitely for sure. So when you look at, you know, Holmes, she had 13 and 10 versus Valley. You have Nia Harmon had 16 versus Valley, 16 and 6. So is this team more offensive minded or is this team a defensive minded ball club?
Definitely most offensive minded because I look at the average of the last 3 games. They're averaging 76 points a game. Whereas we're on the average close to 50 points a game. So we're going to have to step up with defense on our mind and being able to stop their players from scoring and hitting the boards. So they're very much offensive minded.
And then you've got Prairie View coming in here. Coach Pugh's team, definitely a struggle there. Talk about the importance of these 2 home games. They're all important, but just getting home for the first time in over 40 days. You know, talk about the excitement of playing here in the friendly confines of the Whitney Arena.
I always tell them you got to take advantage of home court advantage. You always defend your home court. You know, we always came out, hey, it's a win. You're not going to beat us at home. And so that's the mindset that we're going to have. No one's going to beat us at home. And we have to protect our home court advantage.
And the good thing is we played on last Thursday and Saturday as compared to Saturday and Monday. Yeah. So talk about getting healthy, that little bit of downtime. Yeah, it did help us. We were able to get home on Sunday. You know, just talk about the last few days of work as you get ready for Texas Southern.
Well, you know what? The last few days they were able to rest their bodies, which they need, because, you know, we were on our bus for, you know, a long time. You know, we had to hurry up and get back because of the weather, but they were able to rest their bodies. So I think that we should come in here rested and well rested and ready to play.
Are you excited about being at home?
Oh, I'm very excited about being at home.
Should be fun. Don't forget now, it's a 1 o'clock tip-off. Saturday home games are at 1 and 3. So we'll have it on the Brave Sports Network at 12:45 on Saturday as Texas Southern and Prairie View come to town in the next few days. Coach Lisa Powell pinch hitting for Nate Kilbert. Coach, you did a real good job.
Thank you.
Let's get a couple of wins, folks, as we have Texas Southern rolling in here Saturday at 1 o'clock, pregame at 12:45 on the Brave Sports Network. That'll do it for the Nate Kilbert program. For our producer, Cedric Tillman, assistant coach Lisa Powell, I'm Charles Edmond. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you on Saturday. So long.